Hello everyone, and this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on March 4th, 2013. This was the old school edition of Raw this week, and to be honest, once again, much like the 20th anniversary of Monday Night Raw not too long ago, I felt they did a good job this week of mixing in the old-time characters and the old school feel with actually continuing and progressing the storylines that they were going for their for the upcoming pay-per-view at the time. Of course, this one being WrestleMania. I'll get into the aspect of, you had two new feuds that are obviously they're going to be going for start up tonight. I'll talk about one of them right at the end of the review, and I'll start off with this one here. After the match with Antonio Cesaro and Ryback, you had Ryback, of course, celebrating, doing his normal thing, and as he's walking up the entranceway, Mark Henry comes out, and they have that little stare off, and pretty much that's all that they really need. And I think this is a good feud for both of them going into the WrestleMania area. Obviously, Ryback still has a fair amount of fanfare left behind him. Obviously, they're also pushing Mark Henry as this monster type heel as well. And I think the two of them will mismatch well together, mostly because for Ryback, most of his opponents outside of his couple matches with Tensai, he hasn't really had anybody who was obviously heavier or harder for him to pick up for his finishing move. So this is definitely going to give one of those situations in there. It's going to be harder for Ryback to pick up Mark Henry, and of course as well, they bill Ryback as almost like this unstoppable force, so you have the immovable object there. So I think it's going to work well together. Obviously, this week was just the stare down, so that was, and that's always a good way of starting, especially something like that. Just have them stare down, no words, no nothing yet. A good way to go. Also, the continuation of the Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio feud. I liked where they went with it this week. They did well with putting Jack Swagger with, pretty much symbols of what his character is supposed to be, a real American. So you had people who did do that in the past with Sergeant Slaughter and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. They always embodied like the American Dream and everything, but they're more on the face side. The only thing I wish they would have done was, initially Jack Swagger wants to show respect to these guys because they're real Americans type deal, to play that character up a little bit there, but in the end they just went with him attacking all three of them, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it goes to play the character up of Jack Swagger. It obviously got him a lot of heat from the crowd, so they did a really good job there. I like the attack backstage by Alberto Del Rio right afterwards. It was good to get at least a little bit of physical altercation going in there between the two of them. Obviously not much. They're not trying to have them attack each other much yet, in the sense that you saw even later with the after the Alberto Del Rio match with Wade Barrett, which once again fun match to watch. You just had another stare down with them, and you get the aspect of the two of them actually, the tension between the two of them. And of course you saw another Zeb Coulter video as well, so they're building the characters in multiple ways, and hopefully they don't put Dolph Ziggler into the mix here. You had that Friday Night SmackDown match with him and Alberto Del Rio. I don't want to see the Money in the Bank get cashed in yet, because I think they've got a lot really well done with the Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio storyline. I want to see them continue on with it and go into WrestleMania with just the two of them. I'm really enjoying this feud. It touches a lot of controversial bases, and they're telling it really well right now, so hopefully they'll stick with that. Let's see here, on the aspect of legends showing up, I like the aspect of course, mixing in Ric Flair back with The Miz again, like they did a few months ago, using, of course, Miz using the figure 4 leg lock to win his match with Dolph Ziggler. Nice little touch there. Again, another fun match in that sense as well. Also, $1 Million Man watching over the primetime players to see if he'll become their manager or something in that sense. That was a nice little touch in there as well. Seeing the Honky Tonk Man in there, that was really good. Also, a nice little funny moment when he knocks out Heath Slater with the guitar. So they did do a good job with the legends this time around. Mostly, they didn't feel like they were, the main focal point of the show, but they were there, and and you got those nice little crowd pops for the people that they used to always watch and like at that point in time. The Triple H deal. I like the aspect that he came out to address the whole Brock Lesnar situation after the confrontation from the week before and the bloody battle that they had. I like the aspect that he kept it short and sweet. He wasn't out there no more than 5 minutes, which with Triple H promos in the past, they really go for a long time. So it was nice to see him keep it short, sweet, to the point. He got his points across about why he was going to have another match with Brock Lesnar, and then of course challenging him to the match at WrestleMania. The next storyline that I want to go into is the Rock and John Cena storyline. Obviously, this week was nothing more than a promo, in the sense it was supposed to be like a point-counterpoint type promo, which I think I don't know if you really got a point-counterpoint type deal, but you definitely got a serious vibe. Last year when they were doing the feud, for the most part, it was just them insulting each other, making jokes, having fun with the entire situation. This year, they started it off with an incredibly serious promo between the two of them, and I hope they just keep it to the seriousness versus just making it like a joking matter in some way, shape, or form. Both of them came off really good in their promos tonight. It definitely showed the intensity and desire that both of them have for this particular match going into WrestleMania, and hopefully they'll continue with that area of seriousness versus having them just do some jokes or have another Rock concert or have John Cena rap again or something like that. I liked what they did this week. Hopefully they'll keep that going. And this pretty much brings me to what the main focal point of the show was, which was, of course, the return of The Undertaker. I liked what they did right at the beginning of the show. They didn't beat around the bush. Undertaker just came out, basically saying he's back. He's going to have a match at WrestleMania. And I really like the aspect that the next person that we saw come out there was CM Punk. Just in the sense that, that's the feeling that most people were going with. He wasn't going to be in the WWE title match, but he will more likely have the match with The Undertaker. So him initially just challenging The Undertaker to defend his streak against him was a nice touch, but they even added more of a nice touch to it with having Big Show, Sheamus, and Randy Orton throw their name in the hat, which caused that fatal four-way match right at the end. And for the main event with them at that fatal four-way, it was a nice main event. It wasn't as good as last week's, but then again, it's going to be really hard to top last week's main event in that sense. But all four of them had a really good match together, insinuating I like the aspect that, you had this fatal four-way match to find out who was going to face Undertaker at WrestleMania, because this goes to show just how much not only the streak means to Undertaker in this sense, but ending the streak means to these other four at that point in time. So having the match to find out which one would do it, because they were arguing over who would do it, was a nice little touch there. Obviously, it was going to be CM Punk, because you have Randy Orton and Sheamus and somewhat a Big Show now dealing with the Shield in this sense, which I was really glad that they only stuck the Shield with a promo, continuing their storyline with Randy Orton and Sheamus, and if they are throwing Big Show in there as well with him, instead of having them come out and interrupt the main event or attack all three of them. It made for a better main event, and having the clean victory at the end for CM Punk made it seem a lot better as well. So that was a nice little touch to that match as well. Obviously, right after the match, you have the confrontation with CM Punk and The Undertaker. Again, no words need to be said. You get what's going on. CM Punk feels he's the best in the world. Undertaker has his streak that's always been unbeatable at WrestleMania. The two will collide there, and it should be a fun one to watch. So overall, I felt this week's Raw was fairly good. It was a fairly good Raw, really good Raw. Good mix with the legends being back there for the old school feel, and continuing the storylines going into WrestleMania. It was a really fun Raw to watch this week, and that's my review for Monday Night Raw. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.